Good evening and welcome to the Hate Bit Podcast. I'd like to start by saying that I really don't care for any of you. Good evening and welcome to the Hate Bit Podcast. I am the intrepid Yell Chaos. Joining me over to the left, my man, all the way from Pennsylvania, Alpha Omegason.
Hi. We saw that you were all bitching in the comments. Why don't you uncork your fucking vaginas, shut the fuck up, and open your ears? We have shit to say.
Indeed. And also, by the way, you should close your mouth before someone puts a cock in it. There, I said it. And the 10-foot terror from Tokyo Town, my man, Kid Shoryuken.
Yeah. And I'm not too fond of you either, so there.
You were definitely going to be the complete face of a company. It works that way.
Absolutely. There's no wonder that you're such a giant of social media. Anyway,
yeah.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, correspondence of any kind, please drop us a line at hatebitpodcast@gmail.com. I know you won't, but I say it anyway. In fact, I got a comment the other day that says, why don't you bring back the hate bit ball bags? That you fucking faggots don't send any letters. Send some letters and then we can read them on the air. So that way your mom will think that you're important.
Wait a minute. We don't bring back something that doesn't have something in it? Who the fuck would have thought of that?
Man, well, you know, I mean, we can go get the bag. I can show you a ball bag right now. I could do it. It can be done. But this is a far more classy program than that. Also, don't forget to follow us on the social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, all that shit, so you can see all the different things that we do. And if you don't care, then get the fuck out of here. Who cares? But for the rest of you, and when I say the rest of you, I mean the ones of you that don't, say nice things to us on this program, then go to other people's fucking live streams and talk about what a bunch of dickbags we are. You know who you are. Fuck you in the mouth.
Oh, yeah.
All that having been said...
None of you are nearly as clever as you think you are, but you are a bunch of spineless fucking assholes, so there's that. Also, as for where Razorfist is, he's currently knee-deep in Slags. The minute that we can pry his member from one of their cold bodies, he will be here. Until then, he's a busy man, so shut the fuck up.
And that's clearly more important than any one of you. So... we've got a hell of a program here for you, and we hope you enjoy it. So sit back and get yourself some popcorn, because it's going to be a wild ride. Here at the Hate Bit Podcast, we really enjoy, well, let's face it, it's low-hanging fruit, and we like to take our stabs at GameStop like everybody else. And GameStop, those fancy freaks over there, those rapscallions, they've got a new plan on tap. They are going to make more money by not selling things. That's right. That's exactly what they're going to do as part of their new Circle of Life program, taking part in GameStop stores as well as on GameStop.com. Apparently, what I'm being told, and I'm being told directly from people that I know who work in the GameStop company, and those are the people that I, have to give money to sometimes, just because... working at GameStop's a lot like working at TNA. It's hard. It taxes the definition of professional. It really does. But I will say that what I understand here from their Circle of Life program, as reported by Kotaku.com, so I'm stealing a little bit of this from Kotaku.
Hey, real quick, before you go with that quote, when you said TNA and GameStop, I'm imagining now all the corners of the store are going to be blacked out because there's no customers in them, just like there's no live audience there.
Strangely enough, you go to a GameStop store, I just went into one, and they do have the parts blacked out because there's no fucking games in those stores. I swear to you, GameStops look like fucking tobacco stores. Pretty soon they're going to be selling water pipes and katanas and fucking. They're already selling the Super Mario Connects. It's only a matter of time.
It's true. Eventually, Dixie Carter's could demand that you be a power-up member. So. But AJ Styles won't have to deal with that, thankfully. So there's that.
And good for him. And good for him. But as part of the new Circle of Life program over there at GameStop, those business giants, they plan, according to a report from Mr. Jason Schreier over there at Kotaku.com. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but their plans are, because there is more money to be made for them on newer games. They are discouraging, used games. They are discouraging the sale of new games. Interestingly enough, a market that they dictate, though they claim they have no power of, but still make more money on those used games. having worked in retail myself, and there's a few people in here that have, I cannot wrap my mind around the idea that they're somehow going to make more money by not selling anything and sending people out the door. Alpha Omega Sin, what are your thoughts?
Well, as a person who technically worked for that company, see, first job ever, Funko Land.
Oh dear.
Very first job I ever had. Now it's a GameStop if you go out there. Extremely sad day, crying twin waterfalls and all that shit. But the idea, and keep in mind, I have quite a few friends that work for the company right now. And for them to be telling people, well, don't buy the new stuff, buy the used stuff, that's nothing new. But them saying, well, don't buy either, makes no fucking sense. Because if, I don't know, if you have Watch Dogs 2 at $55 and you have it new at $30, and you don't want them to buy the new stuff because you have none of the used stuff, then you tell them to go away. You need them to buy the new shit so they eventually can bring it back as used stuff so that you have used stock to put on fucking shelves. And a new sale is still better than no sale. So yeah, right now they literally don't want your money. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer in some regards, depending on how you've been treated in some of those stores and the way that you end up getting fed up with a lot of shit. Though it's not the employees' fault. Never blame the employees. They're
not their fault at all.
I always try to explain that to motherfuckers out there, is that they have no control over the situation, and you'll come to how many different stores and want to blame the people that work there, but they're just told what the fuck to say. They're a mouthpiece, and they don't get paid enough to be the fucking mouthpiece, but they got to say it anyway, or else you're fucking kicked to the side of the road. So GameStop doesn't want to make money. I'm not shocked. Not shocked at all.
It's interesting. And what's funny is a friend of mine that I was talking to the other day, I seen him. He came in over to see me, and I said, I won't say his name, but I'll say, hey man, how's the circle of life treating you? And he laughed, and the smile fell from his face. He says, about as well as Kotaku. So he had read the article. He knew what was up, but he also told me that he doesn't give a damn anymore, and he's going to sell the fuck out of the whole goddamn store, and they can deal with that. And I thought, that's a very interesting way to get revenge on your boss. Here, I'm going to make you some money.
Well, it's actually pretty... Okay, if you haven't worked in sales, one, it's infuriating. Let's just get that away. Anybody who's ever been to a fucking store already knows that. But they will keep tabs on individual stats and analytics for every single employee there. So if you were ringing up items and if you're not hitting all these different quotas, eventually your manager will get marching orders from I don't know, a district manager or a regional manager who got their marching orders from somebody else to basically come down on your head. So no matter what, you're getting shit on. You're getting shit from customers, you're getting shit from your manager's getting shit from people. It's a shit show. And there's no two ways about it. It fucking sucks. And there's no winning with it. And that's one of those things that it makes no fucking sense, because their mentality is, well, we sell new stuff and used stuff. We want to push the used stuff, but we don't have the used stuff. We don't want to sell anything at all. But we got to make sure that we hit these numbers, but we don't want them to buy anything at all because we didn't have that one thing. So you're a business and you're supposed to make money, and you have... That's how you implode. And judging by their sales forecast to continuously keep dropping, yeah, that's eventually what's going to happen. So,
well, absolutely, they're taking this completely out of context. I think they're under the impression, similar to how things are done at Staples. They think that they're going to whisk you out of the store, and then you will go back home to your America Online equipped computer, because it's perpetually 1997 in GameStop, and you're going to get on the World Wide Web, and you're going to go directly to GameStop.com, because there's no other place to get a fucking video game except for the fucking Amazon app that's right in your goddamn pocket. As soon as you walk out, you can go right to your pocket. Kid Shoryuken, you talk too much. What's on your mind?
Well, what's especially shitty in like situations like this, because I've never worked at a GameStop, but my first job was actually at a Sam Goody, which isn't altogether different. They just sell like kind of a wider variety of things, but it was kind of like the same deal where you're pressured to sell, but unlike a traditional salesman, there's no commission on anything. The only incentive you have to sell anything is to just not get fired. So essentially you have someone shitting themselves with fear that they're going to get fired, and they have to be pushed to sell, and that's going to really push them to do and say really dishonest things. Yeah. So like in the article itself, people are admitting that because they're being pressured to sell used things, they will just lie and say that they don't have new things in stock. Here's this used copy that you can buy for much more. And I think that's really like the end result of just this really shitty management style is like sell, but we're not going to give you any money. Your job's on the line and you're kind of like backed into a corner. So you're going to do something, you know, potentially dishonest. So you just don't lose your fucking job. So I think that's like really fucking sad.
Reading through the article, none of it's shocking because I already know a lot of their fucking tactics. I end up hearing it firsthand, and I have for years. A lot of this shit from the Circle of Life program is oddly enough not new. Some of this shit is years old, years and years, dating back to like the acquisition of EB type days. So we're talking about stuff that, again, it isn't all that true, but now it's being brought to the forefront and getting a light shone onto it. And it's one of those things where we were just like, holy fuck, that's really what they're telling people. And yeah, this is the kind of shit that goes on behind the scenes. And it just makes me kind of curious if all of this is getting out into the open, how long until eventually either GameStop just formally decides to go and discuss the matter, or decides to take a fucking axe to it altogether because it's not doing them any fucking favors to deal with this much bad publicity, which there's a lot. There's always a lot, but this is a little bit worse than some of it because this is like shit coming straight from their mouth that they're telling everybody right now every single day, which is coming back onto the customer.
Well, not only that, this is terribly obvious that they're in their end game. Because they need to readjust a strategy. But I can say honestly, over the course of this program, the Hate Bit Podcast, here in our 5th year, we have seen the end game of GameStop. And I hate to, I know that sounds all ironic and hipsters to say that, but they've tried everything that could possibly be related to do, aside from rendering pork fat, they have no other option for turning over this business to do something else with it. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I said that really the end result of all this will most likely just be they lose a shit ton of money, somebody else moves in, and then you're just not going to have any more GameStop. You'll have somebody else. Here's
what doesn't make sense, though. I mean, since the beginning of this podcast years ago, we've discussed why the fuck hasn't a single company stepped in to jump on the bandwagon that is gaming. I mean, it's not like it's not making any fucking money. So they have no fucking competition. They are their own competition. They bought up everybody. Babbage's, they bought them. Planet X, they bought them. Electronics Boutique, they bought them. Funkoland, they bought them. Software, etc., they bought them. And they've been trying to go and eat their way into other corners of this entire planet. Our little spinning mud ball, GameStop's in every other country. And while they have successfully in some cases, it's just one of those things. I don't get why there's none here. And the few that were around, they just dried up and went away. So that kind of sucks. And you're kind of left to just dealing with mom and pop shops, which personally I like because they have control over how much they're going to sell things for. And, when it comes to business strategies like this, if this is something that people feel is a bit underhanded, fucked up, and they don't like it that much, yet they continue to shop there, then they have nobody else to really blame. Like you were showcasing that you don't give a fuck that much because you're still putting money in their pockets. So you can speak with your wallet until change comes forth and they decide to listen and do something about it. Or you can continue to go there, give them money, and then once you leave, then bitch and complain. That's all that can happen.
Couldn't some just like big retailer, like a Walmart, for example, just kind of like expand on what they carry as far as gaming goes?
Walmart did it, though. Walmart and Best Buy, 2 major retailers.
And Target.
You know what? I personally haven't seen, like, I kind of forget about Target, but I haven't seen the Target used game section. Like,
I actually just bought some not too long ago. Their standards are very rigorous because they have no fucking idea what they're doing. They are taking no chances over at Target. I was going to bring that up too. What's interesting is now that other groups have moved into used games, Walmart for one, Target, Best Buy, Toys R Us, I think, tried it. And they were already in fucking money trouble as it was. So I don't think that was really a good thing for them. And I think they took a bath on that deal. But those three entities, as far as I know, still deal in used games. But because GameStop was there before and managed to really capture the used market, they dictate the value of games at those stores too. And so they have no way of fighting out of that. They have created a standard that they cannot fight back against. That's the only thing, and that's the interesting thing of it, is that they dominate a portion of their own economy that they can't take further advantage of. That's the only thing they've managed to do, and they can't take that any further.
They also have had the power, assuming that they went ahead with anything like this, which is something that I enjoyed the idea of, but unfortunately the execution of left little to the imagination, as we all know. But they have the ability to kind of fix the retro gaming bubble, which I had fucking hoped for. Because they were coming in, if you looked on their website, their prices wavered between being about exactly what you'd expect to a couple of them being just slightly cheaper. But if they wanted, they could come in and say, well, that's what this shit is selling for. Some ludicrously high price that's just bloated beyond comparison on eBay, and don't even look on fucking Amazon for used retro games. You just put a fucking bullet in your head before you go and do that. But if GameStop wanted to, they could look at that and say, oh, fuck that. We can go and beat that shit ourselves by at least like 15 to 20%. And they put that shit out there. So then everybody sees, oh, wow, there's like a stationary location to go and find all of the stuff that's always there. It's not a bidding war where you're losing from fucking 18,000 snipe bids because nobody bothers till the last 5 fucking seconds to get anything. So they could have potentially fixed that. You know what they did? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. You still can't buy retro games inside their stores, but they'll take them in. And they'll throw out the box, the manual, anything they possibly can, but they'll sell the carts. They'll sell just fucking discs by themselves. And it's fucking madness. And the employees don't like any of this shit, but you're getting paid jack shit to work in a fucking store that's ran by, well, lunatics running the asylum. We can go and apply that, right? Yeah, that works here. Works here lovely.
You know what it is? It's immigrants. That's what it is.
Immigrants. I knew it was them, even when it was the Bears.
I knew it was them. That's what it is. It's immigrants. That's my problem anyway. I got all, fucking retro gaming over here. Game sells is kind of like a different beast because it's pretty cool because we have a lot of options. But, the immigrants show up and they try to hoard up everything and then run back out to wherever the fuck they came from. And then we're all left
white
here
faces.
Fucking putting up the tab. It's bullshit. I don't like it. You know what we need to do here is like build a wall or something to keep these fuckers out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I heard that you blew up a nuclear reactor to keep them out, but they keep coming over, right?
That's exactly right. We are flooding the Pacific Ocean with tons and tons of, fucking just radiation,
and irradiated tuna and so forth.
Irradiated tunas and everything. We thought people would get the gist.
See, and you think Kid Shoryuken doesn't do anything for you. He did that for you. He is helping preserve retro gaming by keeping the white faces out of Japan.
Yeah, except me. I'm cool, But everybody else...
arguing that.
Everybody else, gotta go, There's not room for a million immigrants. Maybe a handful.
So with GameStop going and doing all this shit and everybody hearing about it, do you think this is going to end up blowing up in their face and causing them to change something, or just more of the same because they don't really fucking care because they're the only show in town?
See, now this is something that really makes me think and makes me wish that we were a legitimate news program and actually knew what we were talking about. But since that's not the case, I'm gonna opine that this will cost them. I mean, it seems like any business initiative will cost money in the first place. Again, I don't claim to know a lot about business, but I don't believe that there is another course of action. I don't see any way, regardless of how you feel about this as a business practice, I don't see any way for them to make things any better. I just plain don't.
I get why they have okay, we need to go and hit X amount of dollars every single month. I understand that from a managerial position. I get that because you need a certain amount of money for your store to still be looked at as like a viable fucking structure for them to continue to pump inventory into that's going.
Well, not only that, they got to pay the rent every month too.
Yeah, well, you've got employees that need paid. You've got inventory that needs to be paid. You got rent that's got to be paid. You got insurance that's going to be paid. You got license that got to be paid. You got to pay for the new inventory that you're bringing in. I get all that shit. I understand all that shit. I've had to write up paperwork for all this fucking stupid shit, and it's very annoying, by the way. When you were sitting down and you're looking at all this and taking into account, I get why they would want to sit and say, well, we should push for the used sales versus the new sales, assuming we have it, because we make 100% profit off of our used sales. Okay, absolutely fine, because they buy it at jack shit and then flip it for a much greater profit. Unless, X amount of years goes by and it's worth fuck all, so then you're just desperate to go and get rid of it. But still, the point stands. But when you were ushering them out the fucking door to not buy anything at all, and your used prices are more than the new prices, you're in control of it. You get to dictate what the fuck it is, so whose problem is it? So you're in control of that, and you chose not to have money and keep everything at a high fucking price, so you lost on both ends. When somebody can reach into their fucking pocket, access Amazon, and buy it there, or go on Best Buy's mobile app and access it there, or on fucking Walmart's or Target's, or who the fuck ever.
Yeah, which are all better apps than the fucking GameStop app. I'll tell you that right the fuck right now.
For all your sakes, though, I hope it gets worked out, because
I hope it does too, because as it stands, we don't really have too many fucking options. Will somebody go and take their place? I would say yeah, except for nobody's even bothered to try to go and contend with them.
I think that's because, can you imagine the amount of research that would need to be done for an outside entity who knows nothing about video games but has the money to fix this? What kind of groundwork and footwork would have to be laid just to make that possible? I mean, they could hire a bunch of YouTubers, but they're a bunch of money-grubbing douchebags, so what are you going to deal with them?
Yeah, they are pushing their Patreon and shit and all other crap. Fuck them, pieces of.
By the way, you too can help support the 8-Bit Podcast on Patreon.com.
They're actually going to look on there and be like, "Wait, where is it? Where is it?" Poor fucking bastards. So what else do we have on the agenda outside?
Well, today on the agenda, I heard there was a football match of some kind yesterday. And apparently it was a big deal. Some folks watched it, I heard. Apparently they got a team down there in Georgia. It's real cute. They got a team, and I guess they didn't do so hot. But the real winner, apparently, at least according to fucking YouTube as of before the weekend, the big winner was the Nintendo Switch, advertised during the fucking Super Bowl. The most expensive goddamn time in the whole goddamn world to advertise a TV commercial. And the Nintendo Switch, the commercial for it that we already saw at the Nintendo Switch presentation, was put in front of I don't know how many eyeballs, because as far as I understand, it was during the most depressing part of the game. So I'm sure a lot of people were just pining to watch a new fucking Pepsi-Cola advertisement or to see The Rock in Baywatch.
Let's take some solace in the fact that Nintendo is actually advertising. Nintendo,
right?
A company.
Before we say anything else, we have to applaud. It's about goddamn time they're spending that money.
Do one of these. Honestly, I'm proud that they're acknowledging that they have to go and tell people about the fucking system other than just letting it bleed out into everybody's brains through word of mouth. So however many millions around the world, we can't just think just here in the fucking States. This shit gets watched worldwide, everywhere. And I mean, there's people who are like, I watched a Super Bowl just for the commercials. So those people were happy with it. The only people who weren't happy were, everybody who wasn't rooting for the fucking Patriots, I guess. So.
My
well,
mom
they had a
says
good time early on, I mean, seriously, that was like a massacre in a nursing home,
dude. I just like the fact that I want to debate. I'm like, who choked harder, Hillary or the Falcons? And I just weighed those two out, and I was just like, you know what? Nah, I'd say that they're about even. Both of them choked real fucking hard and failed. Bam.
That's because it's fixed.
I mean,
I think no,
it probably is.
I think Hillary for sure. Like, you could argue the Falcons if the Patriots actively tried to lose that game, then you could be like, okay, yeah, it was about even. But Patriots wanted to win at least, so I'm gonna say Hillary.
But they did start off with a cheap heat. Fucking put the George and Barbara Bush out in front of fucking Texas. Those are the people that cheer the electric chair. Just so you know,
they do. They fucking cheer a firing squad.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Well, hey, you know what? It's exciting because they had Lady Gaga come in like Sam Fisher, and she got to dangle around and stuff. So that was kind of cool. If we just gave that stupid, goofy-looking bitch any kind of night vision goggles and then decided, all right, now creep through the shadows, the same ones that at the live events of TNA and in the corners of GameStop, you can go and fucking kill as many people as you need to. Look, the jokes come full circle here. Isn't that nice? References everywhere.
Why are halftime shows always like a pop act? Like, isn't football like as
because Janet Jackson showed her tit and ruined it for everybody?
I just don't get why the fuck they don't get some kind of act out there that's like, I don't know, a rock or metal band. It makes a lot more sense to me because you have people who are running into each other at a high rate of speed and just beating the fuck out of each other. Not as awesome as Mutant League football, but still all the same. Well, no, I guess you get that during hockey. So yeah, hockey's better anyway, so it doesn't matter. Fuck football by comparison.
At least like a rock band to make it like, I guess, palatable for a general audience. Like, I guess you couldn't go like full metal because that would like put a lot. But something that has like some kind of like.
They put Aerosmith in there one time, and they stuck NSYNC and Britney Spears on top of it. You do the math.
Yeah, that doesn't. Okay, never mind. I guess it works.
Okay, so Nintendo had their commercial on there.
They did,
and that's a big fucking deal. Now the question is, and this is something like I also want to bring up because I wasn't sure if you guys knew about this, but how is this going to affect Nintendo Switch sales? Like, are a lot more people going to be looking this up? I know it was trending all over social media multiple different times. So, and the Nintendo Switch pre-orders are already sold the fuck out. They've been sold the fuck out. But I was hearing rumblings that both GameStop, oh man, it's as if like we're bringing them up again, and Target for all the fancy people out there who want to feel good because they're not at Walmart, their pre-orders for certain people at both of them have suddenly just poofed out of existence, which is pretty fucking bad. And I'm expecting to hear this from Walmart and from Best Buy and from Amazon, just because I don't see why it would only be those specific locations, because Nintendo has to give them the numbers. That's all there is to it. They can only take X amount of pre-orders because that's all that they're allotted and given based on the amount of foot traffic that they get. So they know, oh, well, this is a guarantee here, here, and here. So what are you guys expecting? Anything?
I really wonder. One thing that I wasn't sure how I felt about when I saw it for the very first time. But one thing I think was smart is they know who's watching, who are the dads watching the Super Bowl. Dudes in their mid-30s to, say, their 40s. And they made sure that Legend of Zelda logo was there and very present. Ooh, what's this game? It's The Legend of Zelda. Remember when you were a kid, The Legend of Zelda? They made sure that, they were going, again, for the goodies in the nostalgia bag. And I'm not sure what effect that'll really have. But, they they were a little ambiguous with it. I really don't know what to expect because I don't know really what makes it
all day ambiguous. I thought that, and keep in mind, just given the amount of time that they're allowed for commercials,
it was you know, it was kind of short because that's the nature of those commercials.
But I thought that just they took their most high-profile launch game that they have, their only high-profile launch game, let's be honest, that they have that's recognizable. They put it on there, and it is something that's eye-catching. But they did show, you know, dude wakes up, picks up his Nintendo Switch, is playing it, and then puts inside the system. So they get to show the transition of it being a handheld and a console.
And they made sure to show off that Pro Controller.
Oh, yeah, the Pro Controller, which is, again, too fucking expensive. And I wish that they had a little bit more time, but then the longer that the commercial goes on for, the more it becomes an infomercial minus the bad acting. But
yeah, and that turns people
not
off.
nearly as bad acting as them at E3 presentations, but all the same, it still applies. So,
it does.
I'm kind of on board with you, Chaos, because that's like, you know, like you said, that's like really expensive ad space, and I don't really see the point of it because you can't sell more than you can make. And presumably all that they've been able to make thus far is already sold in advance. So why dump that much money?
That's just pre-orders. You have to keep in mind the Wii U had fuck all for advertising. It had fuck all, and it had fuck all for sales. And people still today don't know what the fuck it is. Sure, we do. But we actually give a shit about this kind of stuff. So naturally,
we're part of a very small group.
But Nintendo needs to go and get the attention of everybody else. From day fucking one that they've shown off the Nintendo Switch, every single bit of advertising, any kind of promotional video, any kind of package that they've put together has had teens and adults. That's all. They are not marketing this strictly towards the whole family dynamic or even just, you know, damn near just children. This, and granted, it's expensive to go and air a commercial, but where the fuck are you going to get a commercial seen by that many people? The Super Bowl. Nowhere else.
That many people who were little kids when The Legend of Zelda came out, and that was a big fucking deal. Nostalgia caps work like that, you know, with very quick synapse.
I mean, look, it's not to say that putting a commercial out during the Super Bowl is a guaranteed, you know, street to success. It's not always. Radio Shack had like one of the coolest fucking Super Bowl commercials I can think of because it was based all around nostalgia, and Radio Shack is just, I don't know, a fucking joke. We can just go and giggle and laugh at it because they have nothing to offer that we can't get anywhere else for a lot cheaper and way more to offer outside of that. But Nintendo needed to go and do this, and this is just step one of many. They need to go and win back third party. They need to fucking advertise this bitch. Nintendo can't just be the fucking company that makes Mario and Zelda and is for fucking kids all the time, because that's what's going to murder them to the point that they're going to be just third fucking party, and that's all. And Nintendo doesn't want to do that. I know that they don't want to do that. You know they don't want to do that. They need these kind of commercials, and they've got the bankroll to do it. Nintendo's got so much fucking
thing. I think this is also, they need to spend some money. They're sitting on way too much money, and that cannot be helping them out tax-wise. So they needed to spend some money.
They've got this money and haven't fucking messed with it at all. Nintendo should have bought up plenty of fucking small-ass development studios and publishers with large catalogs of titles that would have been theirs exclusively. They should have. They didn't. Nintendo should have teamed up with different companies. Should have, but they didn't. Nintendo should have advertised their fucking last system. Should have, but they didn't. There's a lot of should haves, but didn't. And granted, what the fuck do you know? You don't run a fucking company. Yeah, well, I'm one of their fucking consumers, and I can tell you that I've got the common sense to see what the fuck has worked and what hasn't worked. This commercial, I think,
not only that is that you want to buy stuff, and you'd like to hear when they have stuff. And if they don't tell you that they have stuff, you can't go buy stuff.
Keep in mind of how many people out there who are like hardcore gamers and are the ones who have to tell their, I guess, casual gamer friends. I don't know how else to really label it other than sounding fucking douchey. But there's a lot of people out there that love games. They don't listen to this shit. They don't talk about this shit. They don't look this shit up.
IGN is not their homepage.
They need this stuff kind of fed to them. And this is good opportunity for that. I'm just hoping that this is one of those instances where people are just like, yeah, I want to go check out this fucking Nintendo Switch. The downside is you got Legend of Zelda. I just wish it had... I wish fucking Mario was coming out alongside it, because goddamn, that'd be good. Very, very good.
Yeah, but I mean, who conquers the holidays like Super Mario? I think that was by design.
Pokemans, lots of Pokemans.
Lots of them.
Lots of Pokemans. Pokemans conquer everything.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Well, no, they tend to conquer the autumn lately.
But I'm fingers fucking crossed, because my household right now, between myself and my friend Alex, has 2 Nintendo Switches pre-ordered.
Damn.
He wanted to have his own as well, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if one of ours gets canceled, at least we've got the other. If both of them get canceled, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit and go off bad. Like, the entire internet is going to fucking feel my wrath and my pain, because that's suffering, man.
You're all gonna pay.
Yeah, it's
You know what? The lack of an advertisement though from Heinz actually makes me want to go out and buy more Heinz products, just because they gave all their employees a day off instead of spending money on ad time.
You know what? Come to Pittsburgh. We got Heinz everything here. Fucking Heinz everything.
That's the only city on the planet that uses Heinz mustard.
Dude, I don't fuck with mustard, but there's only 2 types of ketchup I give a shit about. Spicy Whataburger ketchup from Texas and Heinz. That's all. Any ketchup outside of that, fuck it. I don't want to see that nonsense.
Yo, ketchup can kiss my dick.
Fuck yo, ketchup.
Fuck yo, ketchup.
That's right. But, following along, and rolling along with this Nintendo theme we've got going on here, there was talk earlier last week, some rumblings after, there's been a lot of talk about the Nintendo Switch. That's been the big news item in the video game world for the last little while. And there was a talk, I guess, what is it? Nikkei's Technology Online website reported that Nintendo may or may not be developing a successor to the Nintendo 3DS. Now, I remember, and you don't remember because you're a bunch of dickbags, but I said, when we were talking about the Nintendo Switch not too long ago, just a few weeks back, that this doesn't feel like a machine that's going to capture the 3DS audience. That's the way I felt about it. It seems to me like it's a home console that will be highly portable, that you can take with you for a couple of hours. But I do not see it as being, it will not satiate that market. And the people who are, the 3DS devotees, that's a large group of people. And to simply just up and not feature those people and expect them to go buy a home console is, seems to me kind of short-sighted. So there's been a lot of lawyer speak around it. Nintendo president Tatsumi Kimishima said that the company, will, target different markets, but he still feels that is a market they need to stay in, dedicated handhelds. They see that there's still money there. And I think, and this is the interesting thing, I've noticed that in the last year or so, the conversation has changed. Just a few years ago, there was this talk that smartphone games were going to absolutely obliterate handheld gaming. Here we are a few years later. That is yet to happen. I'm not going to say that, handhelds are winning that fight. I don't even know if that's really a fight. I wonder if those are 2 distinct markets that will, in fact, coexist into the future.
I've always viewed mobile and handheld as different. I've had people try to tell me that they consider handheld and console to be the same thing. I'm like, no, they are very different from one another. I'm not just talking about the hardware. It's just its own beast onto itself. There's certain studios that only make franchises just for one or the other. And there are certain studios that only work on one or the other. Whenever you get to see that, you're just like, it has its own theme. Certain franchises are much more prominent on handheld versus on console. And PC can just emulate everything, so it really doesn't matter. PC elitism. Hooray! But to me, I don't even think that they fully tapped the potential of the 3DS hardware yet. So I don't know if it's necessary to even upgrade it, because it's still fucking selling like it's going out of style.
Oh, sure. And from there, the discussion really is, Reggie Fils-Aimé I don't have the exact quote. His quote was much more cryptic because that's just how he talks because he's the American spokesman for a Japanese fronted company, you know, so there's probably a gun in his back when he says anything. But he makes it seem like it is, you know, a few years out, if there is one, which is an interesting statement. There isn't one, but if there is, it'll be later. And
I have to imagine there has to be, because I mean, when you think about it, when it comes to handhelds, Nintendo's been in like the zone for like almost 30 fucking years. Like they've never had like an unsuccessful handheld ever. Like they get a shit ton of money out of that. So why wouldn't you just like keep, you know, pumping cash out of that?
Well, not only that, but you know, I would like to believe that they are not foolish enough to think that they've made any sort of effort to usher their handheld audience into the home market space. I do not think they've, you know, sure, they've been the king of handhelds and they've had their home system because they stopped being the king of home systems, you know, for a time, but they've always, you know, had that. But I do not think, and especially with now the online connectivity possibilities that happen between the 3DS and the Wii U, they made no effort, and I can say that honestly, to usher the 3DS people to go buy a Wii U. Yeah. If the Miiverse could have been used for anything, it could have been to convince the Nintendo 3DS people to tell them about the Wii U. And they made almost no effort to usher one audience to another place. And for them to simply drop that audience right now would be disastrous and catastrophic.
With the Nintendo Wii and the DS and the Wii U and the 3DS, I feel like Dr. Claw, by the way, sitting here petting a cat. Shit. I thought it was weird that just given the style of controllers that we had available to us, that we didn't see any kind of connectivity between like a DS player, a 3DS player, where you can begin playing these games on your big screen. And, you know, I've had people try to argue this point. Well, what about the touch screen? Like, you have one in your fucking hand, asshole. What the fuck are you confused about? And even more so is I have two different Nintendo DS emulators on my computer that work just fine. And I'm talking, there's microphone functionality already built into these things. And there's also a touchscreen built in. I don't get why they didn't have anything like that. And it's just untapped potential. You know?
I know why. Would you like to know why? So they could have the virtual console and make profit.
The virtual console, I love the virtual console, but man, I prefer being able to play my handheld games. Like if I'm at home, I don't want to play on a small ass screen. I have a big TV. I bought it because I want a gigantic TV. And if I can play Ace Attorney Investigations up on a 55-inch, 65-inch screen, yeah, I'll certainly do that. I just wish Nintendo would allow that instead of me having to go to an emulator and do it, because now Nintendo doesn't get my money when I do that. It just seems stupid, dumb.
Well, I will agree with both of you guys that I don't think like handhelds are in any real danger from like just like phone app games, because I don't know like what you guys' daily experience is, but I spend like a lot of time on the train. And I see like a lot of both, and it looks like it's like two different demographics of people on both. Like phone games are usually like, I see like a lot of like older businessmen and people like that, or maybe like young women playing a lot of phone games, but you still see a lot of that like 18 to like 35 dudes. They either have a 3DS or a Vita or something that they're just, you know, on their day to day, just going from one, you know, A to B. They're always on their handheld.
Okay.
A lot.
You bringing that up, I was actually interested in what it was like over there, because much of the talk from most people is that in Japan, it is primarily dominated by a mobile scene, and that's how most people go and play that up. But the way that you say it is that there's a lot of both.
Yeah, it seems like all these mobile games have gotten, like, they've grabbed all the people that wouldn't otherwise be playing handhelds. But generally speaking, people spend a lot of time away from home. Like most people will live here, and then all their business is done somewhere else, and that's how you can live cheaply, is live somewhere where the rent's low and then go wherever you go to work. And that's usually like 45 minutes to an hour away from your house. So you're on the train and you're typically not coming home until like late in the night. So all the people that weren't already playing on handhelds are probably playing some kind of mobile app game to keep them, occupied. But people that are already gamers, when they're on the train or when they're like in a restaurant, like people won't just go to McDonald's to just like eat and then run. Like people will go in McDonald's and they'll sit there for like an hour or more, and they'll just kind of like snack on their food and spend that hour, playing their games. So there's like just ample time. The fact that people are away from home so much, they're going to be playing something. So if you were already the type of person that played handhelds, you're going to keep doing it. And then, all the other folks are playing around with their phones.
Here's a question I'm kind of curious about, because, I mean, we already know what the hype train is kind of like here in the States when it comes to Nintendo Switch. So how is it over in Japan? Like, do you see people who are just buzzing about this everywhere? Or is there like advertisements for this shit up all over the place? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of advertisements. Again, especially since so many people spend a lot of time on the train. Like, there are all kinds of like placards and shit everywhere in the trains reminding you to get Switch, get the Switch, get the Switch. So I guess it's on par with where it is in this. I don't really have like my finger on the pulse of what's going on around here because I'm such a fucking introvert. But I see the advertisements everywhere, so I'm assuming that it's going to fly off the shelves here just like everywhere else, because the same thing happened with those fucking little mini Famicoms. There was a lot of hype and buzz for them in the States, and then they got bought up and nobody could get anymore. The same kind of thing happened here. Yeah. The shit just flew off the fucking shelves. So I guess
I was curious about that, because it seemed like, and I know that this also had depended on what games were out around the time. And there's 2 Dragon Quest games that are coming out for the Switch, which is really good news, but we don't even know when. But besides that, it seemed like Nintendo consoles, not always handhelds, but Nintendo consoles were always doing a lot better here than they did in Japan, until like a certain game would come out. You put Monster Hunter or Dragon Quest on something, and then suddenly like people are just shitting themselves to go and buy it and scoop it up. And there's other games out now that are starting to go and take up that mantle as well, but we aren't seeing too many of them like in the early going with the Switch. So that's why I was wondering, like, what the hype was like over there.
I mean, as far as I know, their console status sales here went down during the N64 that era, because they've came in a third place behind the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation here, and then after that they couldn't overcome Sony. I mean, they're going to beat the ever living fuck out of Microsoft here, because nobody in Japan gives 2 shits about Microsoft, but yeah, Sony just spanks their ass every time.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fabulous.
Dude, the Xbox in Japan it's actually depressing. Even if you didn't like the Xbox, I mean, there are good games on the Xbone and on the 360. I personally think the 360 still technically, library-wise, is a lot better, at least, comparing the time frame they each was out, not now versus what it looks like currently. But an original Xbox had even better games than that one. Exclusives, mind you. Exclusives.
Well, I love my fucking Japanese 360. I bought one years ago just because I wanted to buy some shooters, because they were releasing all kinds of shooters for it here in Japan. And then since then, I have a shit ton of just behind me shooters and 2D fighting games, and there's like graphic novels and all kinds of shit. So
I got a whole stack of Japanese Xbox 360 games here. My friend had enough that he could make his own like Game of Thrones throne just out of 360 games. I forgot how he ended up getting them, but they were all Japanese. But the thing is, many of them already had domestic releases, so nobody gave a shit about them. But I liked them because they had alternate art. So I got all of them. Like, I think I got like 13 of them for like $10. And I literally just bought them more for the novelty. Like, one of them, it's the only one that does have an alternate cover, but 50 Cent Blood on the Sand for 360. I just laughed that I had a Japanese 50-cent game on the Xbox 360. Like, there has to be like 2 copies in existence, and I have one. Like, there can't be more than that.
Well, it's just some of it's because, like, especially the shooters, they were made region free. I guess it was a nice consideration, by the developer or publisher. So some of those you can just get them and play them regardless. But then there are those that are region locked, and I don't get what the point of that was. If you have like the option to make it region free, it would be like kind of a cool thing to do that. But no, I love my 360. I guess because it didn't, sales were so low here. They didn't really give a shit what got released on it. So there's all kinds of fucking dating sims and crazy shit on it. Gal Gun and fucking weird graphic novel shit, Steins Gate, and then all these fucking shooters like Moochie Moochie Pork and all kinds of, just really cool, fun, wacky shit.
And that's reason enough to hit up like sites like PlayAsia and shit. Because
absolutely,
like finding absurd stuff like that, it's ridiculous. And I've come across you already know, because I've talked to you quite a few times about just like imports and shit. There's so many out there. You don't need to know a lick of Japanese, like none.
Yes.
It's very accessible no matter what language you are. So that language barrier, it's non-existent. So it's kind of bad, but it still makes me feel bad for the system because despite the good shit that's on it, it's when you see the sales of it, there was a couple times I saw the 360, it was in double digits for a week of sales. And I was like, oh man, I actually want to hug the system and just be like, it's okay. It's okay. English speaking countries love you. It's all right.
Those fucking pictures of it was like what was it, launch day for the Xbox One, and then there's just no one. It's fucking tumbleweeds, and it's so fucking bad.
Dude, I got so much shit because I was making fun of it. They were like, you're a fucking Sony pony. I was like, no, if I saw it for Sony, I'd also laugh. Like, it's fucking funny. Like, I'm sorry, but seeing some shit like that, the only time I legitimately really feel bad is when it's like a much smaller company and they're like, we're gonna give it our all, then nobody shows up. It's like a kid's birthday party and only the mom is there. It's like, that sucks.
It's juxtaposition. It's like Xbox One's having nobody at all in line for launch day is kind of like a rich heiress getting a pie in the face. It's fucking funny. It's the situation itself is what's funny.
Oh, well, it's okay. I just hope that if they decide to do advertising again, they bring out Bill Gates holding like big fucking hamburgers again and the Duke controller. And I'm like, fuck yeah. That was the best shit ever. Oh man, it was fucking awesome.
And then one of the hamburgers throws a blue screen.
Dude, oh man. It says like, don't buy Windows 8. Just absolutely perfect. So let's transition. Well,
we're going to transition, but I was just laughing about the blue screen on the hamburger. I'm sorry. Okay,
like, you can see like fans, the sesame seeds on it. Like they're just in there. That'd be adorable.
Indeed. Fans, we took a week here. We were going to talk about the Royal Rumble last week, and you guys who don't like wrestling, fuck you.
Yeah, you can tune out. You can just hit back, go watch something else. We don't care.
Yeah, you
go watch one of the high quality, excellent videos on the Kid Shoryuken channel. We'll be talking about wrestling. You can come back.
Yeah, by the way, I saw several people in the comments say, "Who's that guy?" And every single show, the names of everybody is said. There's an introduction at every single one. Who's that? There's a fucking link in the description. Reading's fucking tough. You fucking retarded piece of shit. Christ, you can't pay a god attention. Plus, Kid Shoryuken has been on here how many fucking times? Huh?
Like 100 times.
100 at least.
You know what? Here, hold on. Quick little fucking mini rant. This is what I hate. When somebody on social media asks a fucking question, you're on the fucking internet already. Why aren't you just looking it up yourself? It takes extra steps to ask a person and hope for a fucking answer. I always, every single fucking time, go out of my way to give the wrong fucking answers or sarcastic answers because you're fucking stupid and you deserve it. Well, what is this and that and that? You're online. You have an infinite well of knowledge available to you, and you're jacking off the fucking stupid pictures of Sonic the Hedgehog on DeviantArt. Just open a separate fucking tab. You've got an extra hand, asshole. Just fucking do it. That's all. I wanted to get that out of the way. Let's go back to the program. Yay.
Odin does not want to peer into the well of knowledge.
He's only got one eye. I mean, how often does he want to look in there?
He was like, I only have like one question. Could I just can you just tell me? I don't want to look in the well of knowledge.
I like Odin. Odin's good people. Shouldn't have died, though.
He's a bad motherfucker.
I mean, he really is. And he's a smart motherfucker. That's one of the things I like about it. Oh, by the way, here was one of the Japanese 360 games.
Nice.
I like it.
Is that a different...
I honestly like this cover more than the one that we got, so I thought it was cool.
Because it looks like you're getting fucked by the zombies right there.
Oh yeah. You just put Sasha Grey on there, and it's gonna sell. It'll sell more than anything her fucking acting career is when churned out. So there's that.
All right, but anyway, as I was saying, fuck you or something like that.
The Rimble.
We decided that a certain guy with real shiny glasses didn't get a chance to watch the Royal Rumble, so we give him a week, and then his people called to him. His people needed him, so he had to be somewhere else. So we're going to talk real quick about the most recent, the 30th annual, if I'm not mistaken, World Wrestling Federation's Royal Rumble. I understand that a lot of people didn't like it, and for those people, I would like to say that I understand. I would also like to say, fuck you, it's a show. Folks, I don't know if you know this, but I when I watch wrestling, did you know that shit's expensive to go to? To go see a pay-per-view, to go to the Royal Rumble, to go to WrestleMania? That shit's expensive. And there are these fucking jabronis in their mid to late 30s who spend top dollar to boo. Now, they show up, they give Vince McMahon all their money, and then they boo.
I mean, look, the show, and this is how I felt watching it. I sat there and shit posted the entire time on Twitter about it.
Yes, you did. And for those of you who don't know, Alpha Omega Sin is all over Twitter.com, so be sure and check him out.
Yeah, too fucking much. By the way, I lost like 30 followers by posting a vagina on there, so that should say something. You bunch of fucking pussies.
Anyway, what kind of fucking audience do you have?
I don't know. I even said, I was like, you see me in these videos and you're shocked I'm posting this and it offended you? Get the fuck out of here. You stupid fucking imbecile. Take your fucking autistic ass and jump off of a fucking cliff. Anyhow, so the Royal Rumble, all the matches were awesome. The Rumble itself, meh. Very fucking meh. It was just meh. It was.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I still haven't watched the pre-show. I know the results of the pre-show, and that was about it. So
nobody watches the pre-show. Don't watch. That's like watching the pre-show at the fucking Oscars. It's a whole bunch of nothing. You don't need to concern yourself with it. Let those jabronis that paid to boo watch that shit. But I will say this, and a match that I had expectations for, surprisingly, was for the World Wrestling Federation Championship, AJ Styles versus John Cena. Two guys that put on a show that, frankly, I wasn't expecting. I am one of the few people that still cheers for John Cena, just because I believe deep down he is superhuman. No one returns from injuries like that man. No one recovers from a surgery like that man. Oh, yeah. So there's something to be said for that. But they put on quite a bit of a barn burner. Genuinely surprised.
That match was fucking excellent. There's only one. If I had to sit down and be like, well, I'm going to critique one thing about it, and this is WWE. This has nothing to do with Cena. This has nothing to do with Styles. This is just what they do, and you'll even see plenty of wrestlers say it's not a good idea because it lowers the value of the finishing moves. But it's kicking out of continuous finishing moves over and over again. If you have to do the FU, or I'm sorry, the attitude adjustment, numerous different times in a row, like 2, 3, 4 times, and it's always being kicked out of, it becomes a regular fucking move. And that was the only part of it I didn't like. Outside of that, Cena, in all the much higher profile matches, has been busting out moves that, his 5 moves of doom has now turned into a fucking full-on legitimate arsenal. And he's almost
like a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got to see him back in the days of when he was prototype, he was actually doing more shit then. When he first came in, he had a bigger moveset. But WWE, any wrestler you ask, they have a certain style that's different from how you wrestle everywhere else in the world. And they were all about, well, you have to stick with familiar moves because this is part of your character now. And if you go out there doing too much, they think that this confuses the audience. This is actually what they tell them. This is what they teach you. And this is what you have to go into the ring. Like, you're put into a fucking box. But during the pay-per-views and shit, it seems like that they give them a lot more that they can do. And when you got AJ Styles in a match, AJ Styles can pull a Kenny Omega and sit in a ring with a fucking blow-up doll and make that look legit as fuck. And I mean, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. AJ Styles is the fucking man. And Cena, I'll give him all the credit in the world. Like, he did awesome in that match. Like, the whole thing, fucking, like, A+++.
Yeah, it was fucking, like, I heard people saying that watching it really reminded them of, like, a New Japan style match with all of the, like, the false finishes and things like I guess so, but I thought it was awesome just because of how much high impact shit they did. And I like Cena. Like, I don't really like his character so much because he's, like, very bland babyface, but I always thought his wrestling was at least, like, you know, competent. And, you know, with the finishers, like, you got to do multiple finishers to finally seal the deal. I mean, even the Spirit Bomb didn't work every time. So, you know, it's doable. It makes your opponent look like a complete badass when, you know, you have to, it
makes them look badass, but when it happens all the time, like, I don't mind if it happens in a situation like HBK and Undertaker. So that's once a fucking year, maybe if that. But when it's happening at pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, eventually the move isn't going to seal the deal, so you're just expecting a kick out after that. You know, when Jake
it's almost shocking when people don't kick out.
Dude, when Jake the Snake landed a fucking DDT, they were done. Like, there was no coming back from that. By the way, that's still one of the most real-life devastating moves ever. Grab them around the fucking throat, drive their fucking head into the ground. The end.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking
DDTs show up on fucking World Star sometimes. Dudes are just DDTing each other. I'm fucking, you know, very effective.
A DDT is fucking ridiculous. But I'll say this: the match was just, it was worthy of it being a championship match. And no matter the outcome, because a lot of people didn't want Cena to win, because keep in mind now he's matched Ric Flair for the amount of titles being held. Though we can get extremely technical because Flair should be up to, I think, 20 championships, but WWE doesn't always acknowledge things that they don't own, as we already know. So there's that. But still, he's matching Ric Flair, and people are worried about that because Cena is still relatively young. He's not old by any means, but he's up there in terms of, like, wrestler years, I guess.
But he's also not going to be around for much longer.
I mean, his career is taking off, and
he's becoming a real celebrity.
Dude, I'll give him some amount of credit. I love The Rock. The Rock in most of his movies is fucking horrendous. I don't like a lot of his movies, and people are like, boo, boo. I don't give a shit. Like, I just don't think many of his movies are good. Like,
he's Matthew McConaughey with muscles. Ugly housewives think he's dreamy, and he looks good on camera.
Yeah, he's got that going for him. But it is, like, I know The Rock is entertaining and funny as fuck, but the movies, I can do with that. John Cena, on the other hand, I don't think is a super good actor, but the comedic roles that he's taken up, which were just bit roles and not starring roles, which it's a lot harder to pull off a starring role than it is to just show up in a cameo. I mean, he's done funny ass shit, and I've liked that. But with AJ Styles, man, like, both of them did so fucking good in that ring. Just, yeah, creaming my fucking goddamn jeans right now. It's great.
Oh yeah, they made wrestling look good. Also on that bout, also on the card, I like how we kept calling it a pay-per-view when no one fucking pays to see this. They get it for $9.99 a month. But also on that card was a match that I expected nothing from and got something out of. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
That turned into a little bit of something, despite the fact that Roman Reigns, and I've said this before, seems like a nice guy, good-looking kid. Wrestling's not his fucking deal, and I don't know why they keep trying to get blood out of a stone. But considering this kid has...
Hold up. Are you saying Kevin Owens is not a good wrestler?
No, I'm saying Roman Reigns.
Oh.
Why would I ever say that Kevin Owens is a good-looking anything?
I mean, Kevin, have you seen his
He
wife?
looks like a big black pear with a flat top.
Kevin Owens is banging some good pussy, though. So
aside from the point, I'm talking about what I have to look at. If his wife were on pay-per-view, we'd have a different discussion, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Who's to say she isn't? As soon as they get divorced, I was Kevin Owens' wife.
But no, I agree. Roman Reigns is... Fuck, is he boring. Just boring.
I mean, what I've said is this kid needs to go into porn, a place where you don't have to perform that much and you don't have to talk. You just have to sit there and let the camera do its work.
Well, there's one of the big things that most people bitched about is, well, why do you hate him so much? And it's because the way that WWE forces and presents him.
I would say I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I am indifferent to him. He says nothing. When he gets in a ring, he does nothing. He has the punch, he has the and he has the spear.
I was going to say, he does say something.
He's way too small to be spearing people. Way too small.
That's worse. That's worse than hatred, really. If you think about indifference in terms of wrestling, is the worst possible thing you could have for someone.
Yeah, because your whole job as a wrestler is to get people to buy tickets to see you. And if they don't care, then they might just go watch the fucking Harlem Globetrotters or something different.
But not the Harlem Heat.
Get some confetti.
Now,
throw confetti on you.
With that match, I mean, I liked the match, but a lot of it was really just Kevin Owens. Let's be honest.
It was him pushing him down.
I mean, Kevin. I like Kevin Owens a lot because he's one of the only wrestlers I actually follow on fucking Twitter because he's so good at making fun of people and talking shit, and he's legitimately funny. Like, you just hand him a microphone, the motherfucker is funny. Charisma out the ass. It's always very dry sarcasm. Amazing. Love that shit. Him and Jericho being together has been some of the best shit that both of them have done on television in a long ass time. And it's worked out really well. But they were trying to push Roman Reigns as like, oh, it's him against the odds. No, it's not. No, it's not.
But that hasn't worked. That hasn't worked, and they did that last year for last year's Royal Rumble, where it's like he's the champion, going in number one. Can he beat the odds? And nobody gave a fuck. No, it like he showed up, and there was so much buildup. Like the entire like pre-Rumble like vignette was just all about him, just pushing him, the Roman Empire, all this, and there was like zero fucks given.
Dude,
they tried it a year ago.
I mean, imagine, if you will. This is kind of an old people reference, but imagine, if you will, you heard about this guy, Liberace. This guy is amazing. You really got to see this. The show of a lifetime. And then you go see some fucking guy with no piano just standing there with a nice robe on. That's what fucking Roman Reigns is. He's a guy in a nice-looking robe.
Well, he ruined the end of the fucking Rumble. That was the most disappointing thing ever. Number 30.
I think the state of Pennsylvania ruined the end of the Rumble, but that's another story.
I want to point out something. The only build-up for Roman is inside of Vince McMahon's pants.
Oh.
That's all.
Ever since the Warrior passed, he needed somebody.
I mean, I get why Vince looks at like Roman has a marketable look, but they've never packaged him together quite right. When he was in the Shield, he was technically protected because he had two people. You have one dude who's an extremely amazing wrestler. You have another dude who's really good on mic and a subpar wrestler. Then you have Roman Reigns, who's kind of should just be the quiet muscle, and that's it, and that works. And all you got to do is put him out there and just have him run through motherfuckers and then leave. That's it. I'd like him a lot more if you gave him a Goldberg-style build. and do it for a long ass time instead of handing him belts. Huh?
Roman Reigns.
Well, you can't.
Roman Reigns is a nice, smiling Bull Buchanan.
Yeah,
Except he looks like if Bull Buchanan got washed in hot water and then shrunk.
I could see, because he does have like a good look and he's a big dude and he can at least be brought through like a good match by other people who are better than him.
He stands next to fucking anybody.
Yeah, that's
but I'm saying like
he's
I can
not
see
as
like
big
the push
as
like
they
a
say
certain,
that he is. Like,
no.
If, for example, if you look at him like height-wise and just mass-wise, I'm like, you're just a regular-sized wrestler. You're not a small dude compared to regular fucking people, but you are just a wrestler. Like, I could
he's
put him
kind of tall, but Kevin Owens' belly is bigger than his whole mass.
Yeah, when they call their weights, he's like the same weight as Owens, and Owens isn't really pushed as like a power wrestler. Shorter. Yeah,
Dude,
and he's not really pushed as like a power wrestler, you know.
Look, if there's going to be like a couple people I look at on the bracket, the current roster right now, that I think of, man, they would be horrifying because of what they can do physically. It'd be Cesaro, Cena, Rusev, and God damn it, why can't I think of his name? Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I was gonna say Strowman. Dude is
like
just
those are the guys
beastly.
that come to mind when I think of just like retard strength. Just it doesn't matter. I mean, Rusev in general, that dude is just he's a house. Like he's a fucking house. Like, hi, I'm Rusev the House. Crush. And he's also banging Lana. Good fucking job, buddy.
Good Jesus for him, Christ, right?
Wow. Like with Roman Reigns, I could see like putting him in like a tag team and putting like tag team belts on him, or maybe like an intercontinental championship.
Well, that's
but just
what they
him
did.
Being, like,
he was so awful they had to hide him in a 3-man tag team. That's what they did to Michael Hayes because Michael Hayes was awful.
You have to keep doing it. You know, they're putting like the company belt on him multiple times, despite the fact that people don't really like him in that capacity.
Yeah,
it's obvious that he works better.
The Ultimate Warrior. They did the same thing to the Ultimate Warrior. That worked because that was before the fucking internet.
Yeah, but people were cheering for the Ultimate Warrior when he got to the main event. People were like, "Yes, finally, Ultimate Warrior main event." When like Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble and it was apparent he was going to the main event at Mania, people booed the shit out of him. They
also,
booed The Rock.
Don't forget, the Ultimate Warrior's target demographic was kids between the age of 12 and 15. The average people who watch wrestling are people who are on fucking internet all the goddamn time, and they're about 35 years old, bitching at their 35-year-old friends about this on a podcast just like this one.
I want to point out something about WWE's booking where it just bothers me how big of a fuck up they are as a company. Okay, so we're talking about the Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens match. Now, that was for the Universal Championship belt. Okay, so that happened. And then they had the Royal Rumble. And Roman Reigns was number 30. Do you see the problem now?
I do.
If you were wrestling and you had the potential to win, that means that you're going into the Royal Rumble. And if you won being in the number 30 slot, which is pretty fucking easy to do you wrestle yourself? And at that point, it's just Roman Reigns masturbating in the middle of a fucking ring at WrestleMania. And I'm pretty sure Vince is kind of teetering on, should I or shouldn't I do that? Because that'd be great. My grapefruits would like that. Like, he'd fucking like that. And by the way, my Vince McMahon impersonation on fucking point. But yeah, that
it was a good one. I like his the WBC what was it, the World Bodybuilding thing they used to do? His announcements were Gary Stridham. Look at those lats.
I oh my god. Okay, so watching the Rumble itself was something that bugged me because to begin with, one, it's supposed to be, what, a minute or two between the wrestlers coming out? I forget.
It was supposed to be 2 this year, but it very obviously wasn't. It wasn't even, like, debatable.
It varied between being, like, fucking 45 seconds to being even more than that. It just made no fucking sense sometimes. I'm like, so what's going on? And behind the scenes, apparently, it's chaos because they're timing shit out in the ring because certain people are supposed to come out for certain spots that are supposed to be happening. And, technical difficulties will end up happening. They don't know where certain people are at certain times and just dumb bullshit like that, or it can be something even worse where you're Macho Man and you eliminate yourself. So then they're like, well, what the fuck do we do with the rest of the Rumble? Because this wasn't supposed to fuck.
Have your commentators just make up new rules just on the spot, like, no, actually the rules state. What the fuck is the new rule state?
Well, dude, they did that. Actually, Macho Man is going to be another thing I mentioned. The one time he put himself over the fucking apron, or over the top rope, and then he went and attacked somebody. Keep in mind, he eliminated himself because he went over the top rope. Both feet touched the floor. Then he went back in over the apron. They were like, you have to be eliminated by somebody else? Does that sound? Yes? That's a thing.
No, that's
and
not
then
a thing.
Completely abandoned that like every year since, because all you got to do is do the little whatever, pull the rope down, and your own momentum carries you over.
I also know that people were disappointed that Kofi Kingston didn't get to do his usual hot shit spot.
Oh, no, he did. It was just dumb.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Like they're
that's
running
what
out
I
of
mean.
ideas.
It's like he's everyone looks forward to it, and then he tries something different, and it didn't go over so well. And the point is, Randy Orton is a great fucking wrestler. Fuck all of you.
Look, Randy Orton is a great wrestler. The only thing that I can take away from this is I just wanted to lead up to Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton facing each other for the belt, because it would be a good payoff to all of this build. The downside to it is you have Randy Orton going against Cena again.
Oh, good Lord.
For the belt.
Not if Dave Meltzer is to be believed.
But that's, I mean, they've had the same song and dance, and Orton, since he came back, has been pretty fucking good, but not enough where I'm like, yeah, be at WrestleMania headlining again for like the upteenth time. That's the only thing that sucks about it to me, is I've seen this before numerous fucking times. Like, I'm a big Undertaker fan. I didn't want the Undertaker to win at all. There was no fucking reason for him to go and headline WrestleMania. I'm at the point where I just want him to fucking be done. I mean, I wanted him to be done and just hand the fucking torch to Wyatt, because that's the only motherfucker that they currently have that's young enough, besides like Finn Balor, which the idea of the Phenom versus the Demon, the promo packages for that would be amazing. But they already did Wyatt versus Undertaker. They shot that right in the fucking ass, so it didn't matter. And you put Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and Undertaker right at the fucking front, and then they all get eliminated almost immediately, and you brought them out like dead fucking last because they couldn't go the long fucking haul in the match. And that's the only reason why they came out so late into it. And there was like no payoff for it. Like
Taker's turning into a fat fuck these days, so I don't really want to see him in this state,
Well,
wrestling.
he's 50. Let's I was
going to say,
that.
Taker's at the age that
he's well over 50.
And technically, before, he was actually starting to get like too skinny. And it was scary looking, like too skinny. And I wasn't digging all that. But Taker just... I like him more as a character in ring. I just don't want that image of him to be tarnished. It's why
he looks like somebody's
dad. To come back, because he won't be at 100%.
Yeah, he looks like the Frazier. He looks like Frazier now.
Kind of, yeah.
I want to see
Frazier with extremely thick eyeliner, but. Roman Reigns coming out at 30 was a big fucking bummer, because we didn't get Samoa Joe, which was dumb. We didn't get Finn Balor, which was dumb. And both of those guys are people that, I mean, Finn Balor has already been fucking cleared by doctors. That's the thing that fucking sucks about it, is you could have had him come out, and that would have been the shit. Him to come back and win the Rumble so he can reclaim the belt that he had to go and fucking forfeit due to injury, and just go from there. And the idea of like Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, for example, that shit would be awesome. Granted, different brands and all that, but dream matches and stuff.
Yeah, they're going to go wipe away the brand split anyway.
They had Jack Gallagher. He came out, and then they had God damn it, what's the one dude from NXT?
Ty Dillinger.
Thank you.
Came out. That was the biggest surprise. Was just Ty Dillinger. I mean, he's cool. I like him and all that, but
I mean, they brought up Mark Henry. No offense to Mark Henry, wasted fucking spot. Why the fuck did Mark Henry come out? Like literally,
because he's a Texas native.
It was just redundant though. Wasted spot. You have somebody come out like you have Enzo come out. I like Enzo on the mic, but we knew he wasn't going to fucking win. It's a wasted spot.
No, it's the same way like when they put the bushwhackers in there. They come in one side, go right back out the other side.
Well, also the thing is, you bring in like these dudes, these like historically like big power guys, and then they can come in and Strowman can have a spot with him to show how powerful he is. So he can eliminate Big Show and he can eliminate Mark Henry and he can show everybody that he's the new power guy. So I guess at least as far as that goes, it makes some kind of sense.
Well, you know, it could be worse. Roman Reigns could have won. It could have been far worse.
Dude,
so let's count our blessings.
Whenever it was counting down to like who was left, and I saw Roman like enter at number 30, I just started shaking my head. I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" And the more that went along, I was like, "Stop! Please stop! Please stop!" And Randy winning is a lot better because I actually like Randy Orton. He's a good fucking wrestler. He always has been a good wrestler ever since he showed up. And even now, dude puts on a fucking great ass match. But all I want out of this is Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt to win the fucking belt because out of any motherfucker, I don't give a shit who you tell me about. Bray Wyatt deserves the fucking belt. He's been over for fucking years, and the only time that he's had a fucking strap was a tag team belt, and then they made him drop it like quick. How?
Because he's a plate full of piss. That's why.
Yeah. But
anyway,
overall, I thought it was a good Rumble. I liked it.
I'll give it an 8. I enjoyed it, and like I said, it could have been worse. It could have been far worse. Believe me. Especially if Vince Russo were still working there, you know. Anyway, that's it. That's the Hate Bit Podcast because Kid Shoryuken has got to get the fuck out of here. So thank you very much. You guys have been great. Well, actually, you've been dickbags, but that's all right. I am the Immortal Yell Chaos. Joining me has been Alpha Omega Sin.
I'm still playing Yakuza 0. If you want, here, Alpha Omega tip. If you want to make a lot of money on Majima's portion of the game, just due to Cabaret Quest, I've gotten several $1 billion already. That's all. That's it. Bye. And the terror of Tokyo Town, Kid Shoryuken.
Hey, thanks for having me. And everybody in the comments or who might watch this later, do your part. Support a poor immigrant. And go watch my fucking videos, please. Thank you.
Dude, yeah, it's in the description. Seriously, click on his fucking channel. Or don't because you're cunts.
Or because you can't because you're looking at it on a mobile device. I'm terribly sorry. Anyway, you think this show is bad? It could be worse. We got to have Vince Russo on here. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.